No great surprise. Bronny James goes to Southern California. We know Arch Manning went to Texas. So I think both will have very good college careers, but I think at the end of the day, we'll judge them by their NFL careers, largely because Arch Manning could have a fantastic career in at Texas, and they might not win a championship. We saw that happen with both Cooper and Peyton. As far as a national title, Peyton did win an SEC title, and we think of them as some of the biggest stars in
You mean
our.
Peyton and Eli?
Oh, what did I say? I'm sorry.
You said Cooper. No disrespect to Cooper.
Yeah,
Apologize, but like,
Cooper's selling energy. So neither one of those, Eli or Peyton, won a national title, but Peyton did win an SEC title. So they're judged now, and they're the biggest stars in the sports universe because of what they did in the NFL, which is a collective 4 championships. Bronny James is not going to be LeBron, but there have only been a couple of players at that elite level. But you look at Nico, and I believe that he'll have and I'm saying this, and if somebody's tuning in and they're a Georgia or South Carolina fan, they're like, "Oh, that guy's a homer," but I firmly believe that he'll have a bigger impact at Tennessee than Bronny James will at Southern California, and I say that for a couple of different reasons. Bronny James is obviously a guy who's going to be gone after 1 year. He wants to play with his dad, and that's not going to have a monstrous recruiting impact. I think Nico will have a continued recruiting impact and already has had a big recruiting impact. Why I think Nico will have a better college career than Arch Manning is because I think Josh Heupel is on the front edge of a really good trend in the way he runs his offense. I also think, as Caleb's pointed out, he was tailor-made to fit this offense and his skill and his ability. So Arch Manning could go on to have a better NFL career than Nico. I don't know. I mean, that's a long ways down the line, but I don't even think it's close. I think Nico has a bigger impact on the Vols and will have a better overall career than either Bronny or Arch. Am I crazy, Caleb, to say that?
no, I actually agree with you. Let's start with this. Give me your thoughts. Better college career, just Bronny versus Arch first. Who has the better college career? Forget NBA.
Well, I'm a little bit surprised of what I've heard from people that Arch didn't have a spring in which he's firmly in the quarterback competition. And some of that's been said publicly, but some of that's kind of behind the scenes as well. So I would rather take 2 years. And that's a tough one because a basketball player can really impact a program for a year, but I'd rather have 2 good years of an athlete or 3. Let's say Arch doesn't even start this year. I'd rather have those 2 good years than just 1 year from Bronny. So that's a tough one. So if you really held me to that, I would say that I think Arch Manning has a better college career than Bronny James.
Okay, so I'm going to say Arch has the better pro career than Bronny James because Bronny is going to be a role player in the NBA because he's a solid shooter. Great, he's going to be a great shooter, and he's very athletic. Not as good of a passer as LeBron, and he's 7 inches shorter. He shouldn't have gotten a 5-star rating. He was a 4-star guard. He's not a 5-star. I can't believe 247 Sports Composite upped him to a 5-star.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to play for Andy Enfield, who is a really good coach, and USC returns everybody. I mean, everybody. Plus, they got a top 3 recruiting class. So I think Bronny has a better college career because I think USC wins the national championship next year. Not because of Bronny, because of how loaded they are elsewhere, and Bronny's going to get a lot of credit for it.
Okay, well, if anybody wins a title, then that vetoes the other 2 dudes.
Exactly. And from the other side, Texas, what I was getting at last segment, look, I find Steve Sarkisian to be an overrated quarterback whisperer. People tout him on a lot of these things. Who has he really turned out into a good NFL quarterback since Carson Palmer? Don't tell me Tua. That was more Mike Loxley who did who coached up Tua. And Lane Kiffin coached up Tua.
That's fair. And listen, Nico is going to be in a position that he's got to be the starter at some point. I mean, there's too much money on the table, so he's going to get his chance. Arch Manning, listen, if if Steve Sarkisian doesn't think he's as good as Quinn Ewers, which I don't think he is right now and probably won't be this year, he's not going to play. If another cat comes along, he's going to play that guy. He's not going to play Arch Manning because he's a Manning. They can have all the pull they want to, and the Mannings do like to orchestrate things and move things around, okay? So they would try, and you would get a call from Peyton or Eli, and there's something to be said for having a Manning back there in 2024 and what that might bring to the program, or at least maybe even getting him on the field in 2023 to show prospects that. But still, just in terms of natural fit and what Josh Heupel has done with quarterbacks, Nico's going to have a better career than Arch Manning. He might not be the better NFL prospect when all's said and done. We'll see. But yeah, I would bet a mortgage payment on that. People make fun of me for saying all that all the time, but I would.
I mean, I bring it up all the time, and we'll bring it up again since they were peers in the 90s. This is Danny Warfel versus Peyton Manning. And Nico in this situation is Danny Warfel. He's better than Danny Warfel, I think, but I'm saying in the sense of Danny Warfel had Danny Warfel had the better college career than Peyton. There's no debating that. As much as you may want to love Peyton, Danny Warfel had better stats. He won the Heisman. He won a national title. And he won 4 straight SEC titles. But Peyton was the better quarterback and was the better NFL quarterback. By leaps and bounds.
I've asked you this before. What determines success for Nico? For the new viewers, listeners that are a part of the channel, and please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, we encourage you to do so. So the Celebrate 98 series starts today. What defines success? Just an SEC title? Because you got to look at a 3-year span. I mean, it's not a cat that's going to be here for 5 years with a redshirt year.
Top 2 in every statistical category at Tennessee for passing by the time he leads for career. And I'm going to say it, national title. Nico's got to get a national title. It's too perfect. This is a rare combination. I mean, I say this a lot, and I'll say it again. It is the rarest of rare combinations when you get a quarterback who is the perfect fit for a scheme that maximizes the talent. Now, yes, David Cutcliffe to Peyton Manning was a great fit because it developed Peyton for the NFL. But it's not like David Cutcliffe had a specific scheme that was tailor-made for any sort of quarterback. He, as you know, tailored his system to whatever the quarterback could do.
But how much of your expectations and the lofty goals are based off that $8 million that he's getting?
No, they're not. They're based on some of the highlights I saw actually in December and January when I saw the type of throws he can make. And I know what Josh Heupel runs. And I mean, it's literally the perfect combination. It's Tim Tebow to Urban Meyer.
Okay, so if they win an SEC title and make the college football playoff 2 years, you consider that falling short?
2 years in a row or just 1 year? Do that.
No, they would win one SEC title and they would make the college football playoff twice. Is that falling short?
Yeah.
I'm not really worried about the statistics.
That's falling short. That's falling short. You can Heupel's scheme is designed for Nico. Normally I don't in the 90s with Peyton, I don't say Peyton's career at Tennessee is a disappointment. He got an SEC title, and then he went to become a Hall of Fame quarterback in the NFL. I think Peyton was the one who elevated Tennessee to the next level. But I think Tennessee is low-key almost there with Josh Heupel at this point. So Nico is just falling into a system that is tailor-made for him. I don't know if you agree with me, Dave. I think Tennessee is in a better position right now than they were right before Peyton Manning went to Tennessee in 1994.
How so?
Well, they just finished number 6 in the nation. They just got a top 10 recruiting class. They're on the precipice of being great, and they don't have this coaching turmoil. Don't forget, 94, it was after Fulmer's first year, and there was still, the whole university was divided over the Fulmer major split, and Heath Shuler had just gone to the NFL. And to Fulmer's credit, he locked down the number 1 recruiting class in 94. I think on paper, that's Tennessee's best recruiting class ever. It's 94 or 97, one of the two. But he did lock down the best class in 94. But Peyton Manning was a reason that was the best class in 94.
Well, I don't have quite as lofty of benchmark as you do, but we're in the same ballpark. I mean, you have to get to Atlanta at a bare minimum. Okay, you have to win the East one time. You have to defeat Georgia to do that. Rebecca says the stars are about to align. They align every day at 10 a.m. weekdays on Off the Hook Sports. But so it's me and Caleb. The You have to make it to the bare minimum to me is you have to make it to Atlanta. You have to win the East. Again, we're talking about a 3-year time span, and he might not play this year. So we're talking about a 2-year time span. So that to me is really tough to say you have to win a national title. The stats don't mean anything to me because they're already going to shorten the game a little bit, probably by possession, because they're not going to stop the clock after first downs anymore, except the last 2 minutes. So I'm not necessarily worried about the stats as much, but you just have to win. You have to win a championship. You have to win an SEC title, or you're going to look back and say Nico was not all that. It's tough to put on a young man. I hate that. My son's 18. I wouldn't want that type of pressure on his shoulders. But that's just a fact. Elias points out we're talking about a 12-team playoff era. I'll go this far. If he doesn't, if they miss the playoffs one year with Nico as their starting quarterback, then I would argue that that's a failure. I know Giannis Antetokounmpo recently talked about is this season a failure because you didn't get that far. If you got 2 years in a 12-team playoff and you miss it once based off where Tennessee is, I think that career could be deemed a failure. And that sounds harsh, but I think fair.
Yeah, I agree. And success is relative to the state of the program and things like that at the time. I will say this: if you look at Nico as a draft pick, if he don't win an SEC title, it's given what he's going to. That's kind of, or if he doesn't make the college football playoff one of the 2 years, that's kind of like those one and done athletes in college basketball that don't make the NCAA tournament. And I'm one of those, and I know you're an Allen Houston defender, but I'm one of those guys where I'm like, if you are a transcendent star, worthy of a top 5 draft pick in the NBA, you're good enough by yourself with me and Dave as your second and third best players to get that team to the NCAA tournament. Maybe not win a game, maybe not go any further, but you by yourself can get a team to the NCAA tournament in college basketball.
I don't know when I became an Allen Houston defender. I just think he's a really good shooter.
You tried. I criticized him for never getting Tennessee to the tournament. And,
okay.
And
well, no, that's okay. Well, I would too. I mean, he didn't play a lick of defense. But he's still a good player. D says, Caleb, you are being a tad unreasonable. Anything short of a national championship is tough, really tough. So many variables can and will come into play. 21 other guys have to play a huge role. Yeah, I think that's asking a lot, man. A lot of things got to break your way.
When you got, not always, not when you get the situation that you're in right now with Nico to Heupel. Again, this is Tebow to Meyer. This is Warfel to Warfel to Spurrier is overrated because, quite honestly, Shane Matthews, Rex Grossman, any other quarterback could have probably won the national title in '96 with that system, and it wasn't figured out at the time. But it's Tommy Frazier to Tom Osborne, Tim Tebow to Urban Meyer. Think of it. What's another system, like a system offense that won a national title? I'm trying to think of one in my head. But
you mentioned I was going to go Frazier. You beat me to the punch on that one.
Yeah.
Tommy Frazier in a lot of ways is a lot like Nico. He was custom made for that offense.
Exactly.
There wasn't
perfectly tailored.
Yeah. High knees, punish you. You don't want to play in the fourth quarter because you're sick of trying to tackle that dude. I would that to me.
Cam Newton to Gus Malzahn.
Yes.
Tailor made for Gus Malzahn.
Yes. And you can check out a column along those lines on offthehooksports.com. Everybody wants to compare. They want to say that Hendon Hooker was the Peyton Manning, and now Nico will be the guy Joe Milton will be the guy who takes them to the next level. I think Joe Milton is a much better comparison because of his size and ability to Cam Newton and could have that type of year, transcendental year where he kind of comes out of nowhere. I knew that Cam Newton was special, but nobody knew he was that special. You know that the Cam Newton to Tennessee story, right? And why he didn't end up at Tennessee. Have I shared this one with you?
Didn't Lane Kiffin push him away?
He did, but I'm going to tell you why. First, I'm going to tell you that I see clearly, thanks to Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn, no issue with far away, close vision because Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn did my LASIK surgery. They can also performed cataract surgery, and just your annual checkups. They're pretty awesome. Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. Well, the reason being is they sent Jim Chaney to evaluate Cam Newton, and he was suspended for the first half. Was it Blinn Community College? And he was suspended for the first half, and this is the most ironic thing that's ever been spoken to me in my life. I was told that by Lane Kiffin, I don't want somebody at quarterback in a leadership position with issues off the field. And I'm thinking to myself, do you realize what I've heard and been told about your coaching staff? But I didn't say that. I mean, is that not how many different levels is that good?
Lane Kiffin worried about character and off the field issues.
Character and leadership issues and leadership roles was the issue of why Tennessee stopped recruiting Cam Newton. Jim Chaney went out there first half. Now, maybe that was Chaney's call. Maybe Tennessee was going to lose him to Auburn anyway. That's all possible. And this is, recruiting speak to make it look better afterwards. But that's what I was told by Lane.
Then he brought in Tyler Bray, the worst intangibles of a quarterback in Tennessee football history, who likes to throw beer cans on top of cars from his second room dorm window. Remember that one?
Yes. Great line, Elias. Ronald McDonald concerned about childhood nutrition moment. That's about as good as it gets. If I have a line as good as that as the rest of the week, this will be a good week. Yes, but that's exactly what I was told at the time. So, nevertheless, Cam Newton could have been a Vol, and things might have been way different. I don't know. Does Lane stay if he's got a Cam Newton? I mean, I don't know. A lot of different.
Wanted the beach. He was married at the time, and his wife wanted the beach. Let's call it what it is.
I don't know.
And he loved those beach girls at the time. He was that guy. Do you ever watch Summer House? Not Summer House, Flip or Flop?
No.
Okay,
but I wouldn't have flopped away from Layla. I'll tell you that.
There's this California used to be couple. This guy was married to this pretty hot blonde, and they flipped homes. They worked on flipping homes and making money, and it's on HGTV. Well, they got divorced. Guy got remarried. He's been dating a couple of women in between. All your typical California blondes. It's like, this dude's got a type. I mean, I'm like, I feel like that was Lane Kiffin.
Ouch.